What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to the show. This is Anthony.
And this is James. Today we're going to do an actor spotlight on the great Will Smith, who has been an icon for a long time, for about 3 decades now. This guy has been a huge box office hit. He's a great dramatic actor, great comedic actor, also a rapper. He's got 2 Oscar nominations, 4 Grammy wins. His Oscar noms are for Pursuit of Happiness and Ali. All around, just an exceptional actor and professional.
And we grew up loving him. We saw all of his movies, whether it be Men in Black.
Men in Black was our first DVD.
Yeah, exactly. Independence Day. Our brothers were the right age for Fresh Prince, but we watched it with them sometimes, and then we did watch it on our own a little bit, but it was more their age range, but we definitely did watch Fresh Prince for sure. But our first exposure to Will really was Men in Black, I would say.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's one of the biggest stars of all time, and like when we keep talking about like the end of movie stars, he's one of those last class of movie stars. He's like there with like Leo, Tom Cruise, Meryl Streep, like those people. It's like a class of movie star. Jackie Chan.
And also, he was at that ability to command $20 million per movie, which is something that only major movie stars were able to do. And after the success of back-to-back, you have Men in Black, and then you have Independence Day, that catapulted him into superstardom. And I think Will Smith was very smart, and it's something that a lot of Hollywood stars have emulated, which is his career choices, because Will Smith and his agent decided they wanted to pursue big-budget sci-fi early in his career to try and get to a mainstream audiences, and that really worked for him. Getting both Men in Black and Independence Day, they were big hits, and sometimes sci-fi films don't work out, but I think that he's probably the main reason why both of those movies became so successful. So I think that he geared his career in the right strategy by going, I want to do a sci-fi big-budget movie, and this will help propel me into stardom the fastest way possible. Rather than pursuing dramatic roles, rather than pursuing independent films, he understood how important being a blockbuster was.
Yeah, I think Will just understands himself as a brand. And we'll get more into Will Smith. But before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast is to share us with your family and friends and become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. Patrons get perks like personalized videos, podcast schedules. Our top tier patrons get a monthly shout out on the podcast, and every single patron also has access to all video content on Patreon, as well as our bonus episodes, which post every Wednesday. Go to our new website, RaidersOfTheLostPodcast.com, and check out all of our sources of content, our merch and movie posters. Follow, subscribe wherever you're listening, and thank you so much for tuning in around the world. And that's a great point. So Will Smith, you know, he was a rapper at first, so he grew up. His father was a U.S. veteran. His mother was a school board administrator. And he, at first, I think he wanted to pursue engineering, and he was tinkering around with the idea of going to MIT and almost went to a summer program there when he was in high school, but then he wanted to become a rapper. And in 1989, 1999, he did hit it big as a rapper, and then
He had some bangers.
Yeah, so he started as the MC, like the hype man of DJ Jazzy Fresh and the Fresh Prince, and Parents Just Don't Understand, then Summertime were huge hits.
Yeah, and then he had Miami, and then Just the Two of Us. Wild Wild West was a big hit.
Yeah, so
too.
those are later on, but
Yeah.
that was before his movie career, because NBC signed him to star in the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and that started in 1990 and ran until 1996. And while he was acting and that began his acting career, he decided to become the biggest movie star on the planet, which he succeeded in doing. And like you said, he did that by going after big box office potential roles, but also studying box office legends and their characteristics and what made them such huge draws, like those actors of his past.
I would say the closest actor you can compare Will Smith to has got to be Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
In terms of the star power, in terms of the choices of roles that he made early in his career, I think that he really emulated what Harrison Ford did, where Harrison Ford was just in the biggest movies every couple of years for decades, and that really cemented his status as one of the biggest leading men in the world. So I think that he definitely, for sure, had to have drawn inspiration from what Harrison did. Absolutely.
And what worked so well for Will with creating his brand as an actor was also his music and his rapping. So for when he was in Men in Black, he had a song that coincided with the movie. So it was this great marketing opportunity for him. Same thing, like you said, with Wild West. So he's able to implement his musical and rapping talents to benefit himself and the movie and his musical career as well as the film career.
And there's a rumor, I think it might be true, that he said in an interview that he was inspired to become the biggest entertainer on the planet after his girlfriend broke up with him, as a way of like making it, like getting back at her. He vowed to become the biggest entertainer on the planet.
Isn't that like part of Lady Gaga's inspiration, where she was in a coffee shop and her boyfriend at the time was like, "You'll never hear yourself at this on the radio or something like that."
Yeah, he said that to her. I think something like that.
Something along those lines, like right when they were breaking up, I think.
Yeah, and the thing with Will is that what sets him apart from pretty much every other actor, I can't think of another one. Maybe Jamie Foxx, you could say, is in the same caliber of being able, this trifecta of acting, music, and comedy. Because not even, like Hugh Jackman is a very talented performer, but he doesn't do comedy. You know, he can sing, he can dance, and he can act, but
he doesn't do also like music or pop music.
Exactly. But Will Smith, he can do all the he could just make people laugh just from talking. He's never really done stand-up, but he could do it. And he essentially does do it sometimes when he's in performing and stuff. And also combining that with the successful music career and a gigantic acting career, I can't think of many people who have even come close to that.
Like musicians have tinkered with the movie career. Like David Bowie is comes to my mind as a musician, a major, huge musician, not magician. But he's like the reverse, where his music career is enormous. Then he has like a pretty decent film career. Yeah. Same thing probably will happen with Harry Styles, where he's a massive musician with a simple film, not a simple film career, but a solid film career. But not like Will's the reverse, where his movie career is one of the biggest of all time, and then his music career, it's still going. Like he even just made a song with Logic a couple of years ago, so he still has music that he comes out with regularly.
But I say you gotta only compare it with Jamie Foxx because of the comedy aspect. Because Jamie Foxx can just do stand-up and crack you up. Although Jamie Foxx's music career isn't as big as Will's was, he's definitely had some huge hits.
I would say Childish Gambino, Donald Glover is kind of in that direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Too.
That's a great point.
So the comedy, the music, and the film career, because he also, and the TV career. So he's like a four-factor.
Although Donald Glover's comedy was at a time when he was a very different persona.
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
he would never do comedy now. Stand-up.
Yeah, you're probably
his stand-up was very. It was Donald Glover. There was no such thing as the Donald Glover we know now. It was like the dorky guy from Community, and it was very nerdy stand-up.
His stand-up was so funny.
It was very funny, he had like this persona change as he matured, and I think he basically changed what people thought of him. And when he became Childish Gambino, I think he got rid of that dorky, nerdy persona that he used to have.
Yeah, but everyone, I think, when they start making it in Hollywood, they have to understand that they themselves are a brand, and what kind of brand do you want to be going forward. And that's something that Will has always had on his mind, especially recently. He's got like a huge YouTube channel. He's huge on social media.
TikTok's massive.
He's just adapted to the new forms of content and mediums that are out there for stars to use for their platform. And he just seems like he just has the most fun of all time, of all actors, you could say.
And he is just extremely likable, extremely charismatic. Those are qualities that you can't teach anyone to have, and I think everyone loves Will Smith. You can't find someone who has a bad thing to say about him. Audiences adore him. He's been a hit machine for years, and he also seems like he's a great dad, a great family man. It seems like what he and Jada Pinkett Smith have created in their family is it's hard to believe that all of them are so famous, including the kids, but they still seem like they're a close-knit family, which is probably hard to do for any other famous family.
Yeah, especially when you're around all that wealth and publicity and just being a massive star. Just being born to Will Smith as his son or daughter, you're just enormous as a star.
Remember that Key and Peele skit about Jaden Smith?
Oh my God, it's so funny. Key and Peele. Oh, it's so good.
If you guys love Key and Peele, watch the skit they did about Jaden Smith as a kid being like super wealthy and not understanding the real world. It's so funny.
So good.
It's great.
But also something that Will does, I think, with his roles to enhance his brand and maintain it is he doesn't really take villain roles. Like you could say the most villainous character he's played is Hancock, and he's an anti-hero, really. So he never plays a straight up
villain. He still
villain.
saves the day.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So he doesn't play a straight up, that's the villain of the film. I don't think he's ever done it.
He also understood how important, it's just like the Western idea that was illustrated in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Rick Dalton speaks with Al Pacino's character saying that you lose fights, so the audience looks at you as like a loser, so it's time for you to start winning fights, basically. And Will Smith, for like the first 10 years of his career, he made it a contract stipulation that he has to save the day in every movie he stars in, no
very
matter
smart.
what.
He's just a very smart, intelligent guy, high IQ. And so, that's the exact same as going to Italy to star in Westerns.
Exactly.
So that's his form of that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Will Smith's awesome. We love him so much. He was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1968. And that's where it all started with his music career, rapping, and then Fresh Prince of Bel Air, which is an iconic show. We loved it. I mean, I've seen reruns a ton of times, and he's so funny in that. And then he dominated the early 90s. I mean, the films that he came out with just to start your career is absurd. So why don't we dive into his filmography?
Let's take a deep dive.
And I would say that starting with 6 Degrees of Separation was probably his first major acting role.
And it was a serious role for him, a dramatic role, and he was in the middle of Fresh Prince, but he wanted to get into feature films, and you can't just start off with Bad Boys right away. You have to prove yourself on screen, so this was a minor supporting role for him.
Before that, he was in Made in America and Where the Day Takes You. And again, Fresh Prince of Bel Air started in 1990 and ran to 1996, and he was in 148 episodes of that show. So what's so cool about Will is even though he was becoming the biggest movie star on the planet, he was still acting in Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So that's so fun, I bet, for him.
Yeah, he did Bad Boys while he was doing Fresh Prince.
Yeah, so 6 Degrees of Separation was in 1993, and then Bad Boys 1995, directed by Michael Bay. He plays Mike Lowry. We talked about Bad Boys in our Buddy Cop episode, which was like, I think, the end of last year. And we love Bad Boys. The first 2 are so good. The third one's pretty solid, too.
We loved it as kids. We were obsessed with it.
But Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, every scene they're in together is just gold. It's absolute fantastic.
Yeah, and that movie, it was Michael Bay's directorial debut, and it was the first time we saw his visual style as a director. And I think Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, their chemistry together, you could tell most of that movie was clearly improvised. And, I think that Will Smith just put his personality into the role, and you could just see how much natural charisma he has in this performance.
Yeah, him and Martin are it's like peas and carrots, There's a great 1-2 punch, and the Bad Boys films are great, and
that was a big success. It wasn't massive, but it was still a very successful movie.
But getting his name out there to large box office audiences in film outside of his TV show and outside of these smaller roles like in 6 Degrees of Separation and Made in America.
And also, he's not the lead; he's the co-lead right now. So it's not until a few years after this where he starts leading these big movies. But I think it was like, he's in these kind of ensemble big budget movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then Independence Day in 1996 launched this guy into superstardom. He plays Captain Stephen Hiller. He's an Air Force pilot, and this is Independence Day. Aliens come, they blow up the White House, and they start to take over the world. And it's up to him and Jeff Goldblum to save the day.
And this is an ensemble, but he is the best part of the movie,
100%.
Without a doubt. He steals every scene he's in, and when he's not on screen, you like kind of wish you were with that character again.
Although Jeff Goldblum's great. This is prime Jeff Goldblum. He's a virus. We have to give it a virus.
Computer virus. And they're great together because they're very different people. You know what I mean? Very different personalities. But I think that Will Smith brought so much to that pilot character, because pilots, they're cool, they're badass, they're
Top Gun, come
Air
on,
Force
Maverick.
pilots, and he's like the new Top Gun of our childhood. You know what I mean? And like when he punches the alien in the face, it's like, it's so funny.
And what's that smell?
What's that damn smell?
He's so funny, and it's like mostly improvised lines by him, and it's a Roland Emmerich film, so
Things are gonna blow up.
It's almost the end of the world, and you take this movie with a grain of salt. I think when we were kids, this movie was so cool, but like I feel like when you watch it as an adult, you're like, this is kind of cringe sometimes.
It's a ridiculous movie, but I mean, it was made for young audiences, and it's a popcorn flick.
It's not as ridiculous as his newest movie looks. The moon one, where it looks like
God.
the moon's coming closer to Earth, and it's the giant alien inside of it.
Oh my God,
it's pretty wild.
Take it easy, Roland.
Hey man, these movies make money. People still go see them.
I don't know. The last Independence Day movie didn't make money.
Did he direct it?
Yeah. It might have made some international money,
but let's just say there's a reason why Will Smith didn't return to the Independence Day sequel.
I think they could have had a great trilogy. I think it could have been like they could have improved in the second film, and it could have been something pretty cool. It was very interesting.
Could have been.
But you have to have Will as the lead. Will and Jeff.
Then it doesn't work.
Yeah, it does not work.
All right, and then in 1997, Will Smith starred in Men in Black alongside Tommy Lee Jones, and he plays Jay. And he is recruited by Tommy Lee Jones' character into the Men in Black, which is a secret agency that is in charge of maintaining the alien population on Earth.
This was like the coolest movie when we saw this when we were kids, and Will Smith steals this movie. He and Tommy Lee Jones playing off each other is just perfect. Like, their chemistry together is mind-boggling good, and this is just so entertaining, so much fun. Great action, cool CGI. It was just a fun ride.
Yeah, his character Jay is awesome too. I like this one so much better than the third one. I mean the reboot.
It's actually a really good movie.
Yeah,
it really
is. He has great motivation. He's an awesome character. He's hysterical. He's charismatic. It showed like all the great traits of Will Smith in the film, and then he grows a lot as a character in the film. And then him and Tommy Lee Jones, like you said, are so good together. And again, this was our first DVD we ever got. We got it as a birthday present from our dad on our 7th birthday, I believe.
Yeah, we thought Will Smith was the coolest guy alive.
He still is.
I make this look good. There's so many great lines in this movie, and Will Smith pulls off the action. And once again, like I said earlier, he focused on, let me do sci-fi, big budget studio films, and that can propel me into superstar. And by the entire family, every age can learn who Will Smith is and become a fan of him, which that really builds a great career. If people of all ages are fans of you, that's money you can't pay for that.
Exactly. A ton of family-friendly films because, like you said, you have fans for life. When we're 7 years old seeing Men in Black in theaters, falling in love with the character and the guy, and then we're still talking about it and still a fan of Will Smith 30 years later.
Yeah, every time he has a movie.
30 years later.
Every time he has a movie coming out, we're always just like, oh, it's the new Will Smith movie. It's just, that's what happens when you solidify yourself with such a young crowd and such an older crowd as well.
And then Enemy of the State came out in 1999. He plays Robert Clayton Dean. I like this because it was a more serious, dramatic role for Will, which he hadn't really done, I don't think, his entire career up until this point. And I think he's phenomenal in this movie.
This is a Tony Scott movie. It's awesome. And he took the role because he wanted to work with Gene Hackman. And Gene Hackman's one of the greatest actors to ever live. And to be able to work with him, Will Smith even took a pay cut just to be in the film. And this film, it's a really great film. It even feels like it could be a cousin of Gene Hackman's earlier film, The Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar ideas and themes. And this is like, he's done the family-friendly sci-fi studio films. Let me do an adult movie, but it's still big budget, action, high stakes, but it's made for adult audiences.
Yeah, political conspiracy thriller. Let's see if I can pull off the dramatic acting, which he absolutely does because, he's an amazing dramatic actor.
And again, following in the footsteps of Harrison Ford, this is basically like Harrison Ford's roles a couple of times, like Clear and Present Danger, and then also, what's the one with Tommy Lee Jones? The Fugitive.
The Fugitive, yeah.
Fugitive, exactly.
Something with the F.
So someone who's the government's after them and they're on the run and being innocent. Although in this film, he unknowingly discovered very compromising information to the government, so they're going after him for this. So
you're absolutely right. His career is just like
I'm telling you, it's the same.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Who better to emulate than the most successful actor of all time?
And then in 1999, he was in Wild Wild West, which he took this role instead of doing The Matrix. He was offered The Matrix by the Wachowskis, but from what he said, I think I've read in interviews and seen on interviews, is he didn't really fully understand what they were going for with the movie and the way they were explaining to him. I don't think it crossed through his mind the right way, and I think he said that he also wasn't mature enough to take the role.
You can definitely say he wasn't mature enough because he gives a great performance in Enemy of the State, but he was also improvising comedy into it, which they cut out a lot of improvised lines of him and he even said in interviews during Enemy of the State, he had trouble not being funny. He was he struggled not coming up with quick, witty, funny lines, and that was a problem with his acting he discovered in that movie.
Yes.
And then also at this time, like I said, he made it a contract stipulation where he has to save the world at the end of the movie. And so even though Neo is a hero, ultimately by the end of the film, he was walking into the movies with the attitude of like, I am the hero already, before really caring more about the script and the story.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially like when you're a rapper and then you become a comedic actor or an action star for 8 years to now switch on a dime and try to change your entire style up, really. Yeah. So I understand why he wouldn't take the role.
And he also says that he thinks that Keanu was perfect after seeing his performance, and that he couldn't have done he personally said he couldn't have done what Keanu Reeves did.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are skeptical about Keanu's talents as an actor, but I think that he's a perfect Neo. It's the performance is like it's more nuanced performance, I think, than people understand.
Exactly. And the thing with Keanu is he only has a certain amount of range. He's not Daniel Day-Lewis, you know what I mean? But if he has the right material, he gets the job done better than most. And he actually is very talented. I think that it's his mannerisms and his nature is what makes people think he's not that talented of an actor. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just I like the way he naturally is.
Maybe Will's just too confident of a guy to have taken the role at that time.
That's a great point, because Neo is the opposite of confident in the first hour of the movie. And Wild Wild West, you could say, I mean, he had the right intentions, but it just didn't work. And the tone of it just didn't feel right. The blending of the sci-fi and the Western, I mean, it's hard to pull off. And I just think that they went with the wrong tone for this movie.
Yeah, I liked it when I was a kid, but
We loved it as kids.
But like, if you watched it now, I'm sure it'd be pretty cringe. And its box office, it made a lot of money. It was $222 million, but on a budget of $170 million. So it probably didn't make its money back when you factor in all the marketing and everything with it, because this was a heavily marketed movie. It was everywhere.
I would say if you factor in the marketing, the budget was probably $300 million.
Yeah.
So it lost money, and then you divide between the studios and the theaters the profit. So they definitely lost money. But what I read is that the studio researched the audience, and they discovered that a lot of young kids, a lot of the ticket sales were because young kids were buying tickets to Wild Wild West and then sneaking into South Park because they were out at the same time. So they were buying the tickets but weren't even watching the movie. They discovered.
We've done the switcheroo a few times when we were kids.
Yeah. And then obviously parents weren't going to parents were very much against the South Park movie.
Oh, yeah.
So it was difficult for kids to see that.
Yeah, and this is before the internet, really. We had to sneak into those movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, Wild Wild West, it's cool to see Will Smith as a cowboy, as an outlaw. So, but I think that aspect's cool. It would have been great if they grounded it.
Yeah.
Made it more simple. But this is the 90s,
Yeah.
you know. And then moving on into 2000, Will Smith starred in The Legend of Bagger Vance. And this is a co-star role with Matt Damon. Matt Damon plays a professional golfer.
Although even though he's the co-star, he is the title character.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
And basically, Bagger Vance is like this legendary figure in the golf world, kind of like a ghost in a way.
Mysterious. And it's unsure if he's even real.
And he helps Matt Damon's character like overcome the issues and psychological issues he's having with his golf game to help him to become a champion.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good sports movie. I think it's not the greatest ever made, but I really like this movie. It's very different for Will Smith for his acting, and obviously working with Matt Damon, I'm sure was a draw, but the biggest draw for this movie was working with Robert Redford, who directed this film, and being such a fan of his, Will Smith signed on for that reason.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good golf movies, I think, besides like Happy Gilmore and
the Shia LaBeouf one.
Yeah, the Shia LaBeouf one, I like
the
that.
Greatest game ever played.
Yeah, those both are, I think, really cool golf movies, because it's hard to capture that sport in a film way to make it interesting and enticing. Not that golf's not interesting, but it can be a very boring sport.
It's boring. It takes a long time to finish a game, and also professional athletes, they play a lot of golf matches, so it's difficult, like you said, to pull it off in 2 hours to make it entertaining and intriguing.
And then the next movie he did was Ali in 2001. He plays Cassius Clay, a.k.a. Muhammad Ali. This is what he got his first Oscar nomination for. I believe he didn't want to originally do the role, but Muhammad Ali himself convinced Will Smith to take the role.
Muhammad Ali convinced him to take the role by saying that you're the only person handsome enough to play me.
That's exactly what he sounds like.
And this is I think this could be Michael Mann's most underrated movie. I think it's really fantastic, and the reason why audiences didn't really gravitate to it wasn't a huge success, I think, is because the runtime and also Michael Mann's approach to it is very character driven rather than plot driven. But I think he really captured Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, in a brilliant way, a very nuanced way, and it's a daunting task to play. Muhammad Ali was probably the most iconic figure in America for over a decade, like the biggest star, even in the planet.
20, 30 years probably.
Everyone loved him. Although, no, not everyone loved him. He was controversial as well because of his stance on the war, but he was bigger than life, and I think it's obviously with his way of speaking, his mannerism. It's a daunting task for an actor to try and impersonate him, but I think Will Smith was a perfect choice, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah, I mean, America in the mid-20th century, we're talking about Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali are the biggest names probably in film and sports, even though Bruce Lee was he's a mixed martial artist and the founder of it, basically. But, I mean, he didn't compete publicly, but those two guys were huge stars in the film world, and Ali is a great movie because of the elements with the draft and the war, and how Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali's stance on not being drafted led him to be imprisoned and everything, and basically just the protest of not being part of the draft, but also being the greatest boxer to ever live. It's a great movie.
Yeah, and Will Smith, when you play a boxer, you have to commit to the workout regimen of boxers in order to be believable as a fighter. And for this performance, he prepared for many months. What do? He would run for 5 miles every morning, go on a run, and then he would box for 3 hours, and then he would weight train later that afternoon. And he did that for 5 months straight.
It's a lot of work.
That's a ton of work. He got up to 215 pounds.
It's actually interesting because the last episode we were actually talking about how with the Hurricane and Denzel, how so many great actors, they get that one boxing role because it's always like a great
It's
like,
an honor. Yeah, I think it's an honor for actors to be able to play a boxer after Rocky, and even like on the waterfront with Marlon Brando. You know what I mean? Raging Bull. I think that being able to play a boxer is definitely something every actor wants to do.
I mean, Jake and Southpaw, that's a sick movie.
Oh yeah, and even what's his name from War Dogs? What's his name from Whiplash?
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller was great in that boxing movie, the underdog one with the guy who had the broken neck.
Yeah, we love boxing movies.
Oh, yeah.
All right, moving on to 2002 when Will was back in Men in Black 2, the sequel. And in this film, Kay had his memory wiped, obviously, at the end of the first one. But in this one, Jay needs to bring Kay back in, so he has to return his memory to him and then save the day.
And this is like full on Will Smith movie. You know what I mean? He is just like front and center, the star. It's centered on him for sure. And then obviously they changed the dynamic between him and Tommy Lee, which mixed it up and kept it fresh. I think that, say what you want about the Men in Black franchise, they always did try to do something very different with each sequel. And this one, it's a lot of fun. It's not as good as the first one, but it still got great action. It's good for audiences, great for kids to see, super entertaining, very funny. And, I think it's just a good time.
And then in 2003, the next year, he was in Bad Boys 2, reprising his role as Detective Mike Lowry.
The better Bad Boys.
Alongside Martin Lawrence. Yeah, this one's awesome. It's really well made. I think the plot's fantastic. We have them investigating the flow of ecstasy into Florida from the Cuban drug cartel. I think it's funnier, too, especially when they're on, like, their espionage missions, like they're like pretending to be the electricians or whatever it is, and he's inside the house, and it's just a lot of fun. And
it's got great action too. It's got a phenomenal car chase, so much destruction. Obviously, Michael Bay showing the potential he had for destruction for the Transformers franchise with this film. But this movie, like, they upped the ante. They got a bigger budget, and the personalities between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence again play so well. The comedy they make together is fantastic. Gabriel Union's a great co-lead in this film. This is just a really fun time, and I think it's the best Bad Boys.
I think so too. Bad Boys 1 is super fun and everything.
Yeah.
But I think that this one, just the story's better and the filmmaking's better.
And also because in the first one, it's fun, but Mike Lowry.
Competition. I have one from a fan, one from me. This is from Braden Bish. Would you rather get a bullet to the head or 5 to the chest and bleed to death?
Oh, man, I know this. That's a good quote. Bullet to the head, 5 to the chest, and bleed to death. I don't know.
It's not an action movie.
Yeah. Is it a Western?
No.
Shoot. I don't know.
Billy Bean and Moneyball.
Oh, that's a good quote.
Great quote, Braden.
Yeah, it's a metaphor he's talking about.
That's what threw me off. It is a metaphor.
Metaphor. Or is it a simile? No, it's a metaphor. What's your regular quote?
All right, this one's for me. This is pretty easy, but I think it's just a great quote.
So if I get it wrong, I look like an idiot.
Well, if you get this wrong, you definitely are an idiot. You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility.
Alien.
Yeah.
I did this one like a month ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So, way to be original. Always following my lead, guys. Here's my quote. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room.
Oh, I feel like I just watched whatever movie this is in recently.
The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room.
I don't know. What is it?
Frank Lucas, American Gangster.
Yes. It's pretty good.
It's a good one.
All right, moving on to guess that movie release year.
Dun, dun, dun.
What year did Dirty Harry come out in?
Ooh, a good one. I'm going to say 1976.
71.
Oh, man. That was way off.
That's pretty bad.
Shut up. All right, here's my movie release year. What year did Thelma and Louise come out?
Oh, I love this movie.
Let's prove how much you love it.
Let's see. It's Brad super young.
It's his first movie role.
It's gotta be the 80s. 1987.
91.
91?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I guess,
Gotta be the 80s.
Well, let's see. What year is True Romance? That was what,
True Romance?
1990? No, I mean, not True.
True Romance was like 93, 92.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 93, I think.
Because he did, Tony Scott made True Romance.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I don't know why you brought up True Romance.
Because Brad Pitt's in it.
He's in True. Oh, you're right. He is in it.
Wow, do you have a movie podcast?
Shut
I was like,
up.
what's Tony Scott have to do with Brad Pitt?
Shut up.
You're so cool.
Oh yeah, Brad Pitt plays the stoner couch surfer.
Come on. All right, movie pop quiz time. Speaking of the devil, he shall appear. Brad Pitt has a cameo in Deadpool 2. Who does he play?
He plays the invisible guy.
Do you know his name?
I don't know comic book characters that well. I do not.
The Vanisher.
The Vanisher, obviously. Yeah, he did that role for free. All he asked was that they got him a coffee when he got there.
Well, it's just one shot.
Yeah. It's really funny when you see it. Okay, I actually did a superhero one as well. My quiz question is, how many times has Hugh Jackman played Wolverine in movies?
In movies, I believe it is 9, but 10 counting, I think they use footage from another one. So it's 9 for, like, officially.
Well, I have 10.
Yeah, so the 10th one is, like, it's not officially, like, him for that role.
What is it? What do you mean?
I can't remember. Do you have the list?
No, I don't have the list, but I just Google searched it.
Yeah.
It said he played him in movies in 10 movies.
Yeah, but I think one of them is, like, from another movie. They took the footage.
Uh-huh.
I think.
I don't know what you'd be talking about.
Well, I mean, I obviously knew it was 10.
But you said 9.
I said 9, but technically 10.
I heard 9.
We can play it back. All right, who's our biggest hater of the week besides you?
I got a bunch of... So the haters of the week, there's a couple. They're Nolan haters. When you made a clip about Chris Nolan going to Universal for his next movie, there were plenty of people that just hating on it. So Ranma said... Ranma 2021, theatrical releases are going the way of the dinosaurs. These artists are just holding back the inevitable. Jeez, that's pretty grim. And then next we have hot take. People worship him for no reason. I mean, he's only made some of the most influential movies of the century. And then Johnny395, gotta be honest, Dunkirk wasn't that good for me, and Tenet sucks.
Oh my God.
Hopefully he gets his mojo back.
Dunkirk is a masterpiece. Are you kidding me? What more do you want from a movie?
Dunkirk is one of the best war movies ever made.
What do you need? Like, seriously, sorry that Iron Man doesn't show up, bro. My God. And then there's so many more comments where people are, like, backing the studio. Like, I can't believe Nolan, he's so selfish. It's like, I can't believe people take the side of the multi-billion-dollar corporations over the artist. Like, he's the reason they make billions of dollars off his property, off what he creates, and everyone's siding with them. This is, like, the rare example where the artist and creator is getting full control over everything about his project. Like, you should be stoked for that.
And Warner Brothers basically betrayed Nolan.
Pretty much.
That's why he left. You know what I mean?
Nuts. Just like they
crazy.
betrayed Zack Snyder.
Oh, man.
Man, Warner Brothers is taking a bunch of L's lately, dude.
So many L's.
How do you not side with the creator? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Or the artist. My gosh.
Yeah.
We're going to get the corporate takeover of movies even worse if theaters die.
People are happy with it.
He's trying to keep theaters alive, everybody. That's
people
what he's
are happy
doing.
with it.
That's what he's doing.
All right. And then we got we got a fun hater. On our Fight Club episode, Rocky Troop said, I swear this isn't allowed. You guys had one job. I will watch this with no volume and out of respect. Unsubscribed.
I don't even know what episode you're talking about. There was no episode about that film.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I did not
We're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah, of course not. My bad. All right. That's good for haters.
All right, cool. Let's move on to biggest supporters of the week. We have 2 great 5-star reviews. The first one is from Big Chief Clay. Pizza. Listening to this podcast is a lot like eating pizza. When it's good, it's really good. But when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
I love that metaphor.
Are you sure it's not a simile? And then
actually, it is a simile because they said like.
And then Tio Jitty, haters gonna hate, ain'ters gonna ain't. I love these guys. Great podcast. Love your take on cinema. I never miss a podcast. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
On this day in film history, today is September 23rd. In 1963, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid premieres. In 1994, The Shawshank Redemption is released. And happy birthday to Anthony Mackie. My streaming recommendation is for Apollo 13, which is on Amazon Prime. It's the amazing story of the Apollo 13 lunar mission, which was supposed to land on the moon.
Oh, the doc?
No, it's the movie.
Oh, the movie, okay.
You know, the movie.
Well, no, there's a doc of the same name.
Yeah, okay. Good for the dog. It's about that mission that was supposed to land, but they had technical difficulties as they were approaching the moon, so they had to do a turnaround and get back to base safely. And they had to magician their way to fix the ship on the way back because it was damaged, and so they had to use NASA showed them basically like using what materials they had on their craft to make to be able to survive the distance.
Yeah, it's one of the best space movies ever made by Ron Howard. So good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks stars.
Yeah. My streaming recommendation is The Dead Zone, which is a Stephen King adaptation made by David Cronenberg and stars Christopher Walken. Really great, dramatic sci-fi movie. Check it out.
All right, let's move back into Will Smith's filmography. And so 2004, he starred in iRobot, which I love this movie. It was so fun when we saw it when we were young. I think it still holds up today. The CGI is actually really good. He stars opposite Tom Brady's ex-girlfriend. What's her name?
Bridget Moynihan.
Bridget Moynihan, yeah. All I could think of was Tom Brady because that's usually what I'm thinking about anyways. So Bridget Moynihan and
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf also. But it's future where robots and androids are a part of day-to-day life and they help people, but then corruption ensues and they're all hijacked basically. But also it deals with the concept of what it means to be human, especially with this one AI who's the first one to basically have human existence or consciousness and yeah.
Did you see Tesla, Elon Musk's new robot designs? They're making robots and they look a lot like these ones.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, but this movie's fantastic, and we had a great time watching this in theaters. And it had like that cool Audi, remember that badass Audi? And
it's pretty cool.
Will Smith is just peak Will Smith, and great action hero, great lead. And I think this is a really underrated movie for sci-fi. It's not a perfect script, and ultimately, it's not like masterpiece territory, but it still gets the job done. Great special effects, great futuristic storytelling and ideas for what the future will be like. And I think AI robots, or just robots in general, are going to be an absolute, for sure, part of the future. And it might be a lot like this film.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I think it's a movie that deserves a sequel. That'd be cool.
That would be sweet.
I'd love to see a new one on this.
Me, Robot.
And then, in 2004, he voiced Oscar on Shark Tale.
Shark Tale is a really sweet, fun, family-friendly animated film.
I think it was the first voice acting role he ever did.
And there's music in it, too, so they did a great job with that one.
The movie has music in it?
Wow. Musical numbers. I think singing.
Gotcha.
If I remember correctly.
Busting your balls because you said it has music in it, too. Pretty sure these all do, pal.
I'm not your pal.
And then 2005, he came out with Hitch. And this co-stars with Kevin James, and I think Kevin James and Will Smith are a great combo. And I'm pretty sure I read that Will Smith got Kevin James cast because he's such a huge fan of King and Queens.
Oh, no way.
Iconic sitcom. I love that show.
Yeah, and Eva Mendes is great in this film as well.
Yeah, it's funny. It's hard. It's lighthearted. It's a good time. It's, he's trying to coach Kevin James' character into getting the girl of his dreams, basically.
Yeah, he's like a matchmaker.
Yeah, but also going through transformation himself in terms of relationships.
Yeah, because he's a player, and then when he meets Eva Mendes, he's like the coolest guy talking to women. Playa. But when he meets Eva Mendes, he can't keep it together. He keeps messing up, and it's like he met someone that is his kryptonite.
I don't know how anyone could keep it together if you're talking to Eva Mendes.
Yeah, I don't know how Gosling did it.
He's just Gosling, that's why. Ultimate game.
But this is a great rom-com. I think it's definitely an underrated one for sure. It's a really good movie, honestly.
And then 2006, he starred in The Pursuit of Happiness, which is starring real-life Chris Gardner. And this is probably his best performance in terms of dramatic acting for sure. This is it's a devastating film. It's about how he is this up-and-coming technology that he developed that he's going to sell to all these medical companies and hospitals. But
yeah, X-ray machines.
But the machines basically become obsolete and they don't really need them anymore. And so
too expensive.
And so he has nothing to do with it. And he put his entire life and savings into it. And so then it's about him trying to become a stockbroker on Wall Street by gaining an internship with them that he participates in at first, which has no pay. And so he's trying to survive with just him and his son.
And they're homeless. It's a really moving story, and it's such a great real story. I love it, and his character, you just root for him time and time again, and things just keep falling apart on his face. And when he gets arrested, and then that causes him to go to his job interview covered in paint. You know what I mean? There's like nothing goes his way, and it's difficult to. It's like he's trying to raise a son while being homeless, and it's like an impossible thing to do. And it's just one of the ultimate underdog movies of recent memory.
Yeah, while trying to get a highly competitive job.
Yeah.
And he did learn to solve a Rubik's Cube in less than 60 seconds, which is pretty cool.
Wow, nice.
And was this the first movie that Jaden Smith was in with him too?
Yep, his debut.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a very moving movie. And then in 2007, he was in I Am Legend, which was a huge film. He plays Robert Neville. So basically, there's an outbreak of an infectious disease that takes over the world. And I think the dispute is it zombies or is it vampires? Technically, they're more like vampires because they can't go out at night. The sun.
In the sun, I mean.
And so he's kind of one of the last survivors in the world, but he's also a doctor, and is he like a virologist or something like that? And so he's trying to create the antidote to this infection that's taken over humanity.
This is one of my favorite Will Smith movies. It's so good. And Francis Lawrence directed this. He made the first couple Hunger Games movies. Excellent director. And I think that this really dystopian became a big genre for years after this movie became such a big success because it's a property no one ever heard of. You know, it's a great novel, but still it wasn't a franchise, and yet it still made $600 million. And I think they knocked this movie out of the park. It's scary. It's got great action. Will Smith is terrific, and he is in 99% of this movie is just him by himself, you know?
And what I love about this movie and this role for him specifically is I think it showcased all of his talents best up to this point in his career. You know, we have great dramatic acting and serious tones in this film. It's a dark movie and it's a drama, but also his charm and charisma is there, and there's some very light, funny, comedic moments from him as well. So I think that you could argue this is one of his best performances for sure, and it showcased everything he can do.
And is also the origin of one of our most used movie quotes of all time. Saving that bacon.
I've been saving that bacon.
Yeah, we always say we're saving that bacon.
I say that to people all the time, and I know they have no idea what I'm talking about.
It's because Alice Braga's character cooks the bacon when he's injured in the morning, and he's like, "I was saving that bacon."
We do that all the time. No one knows what the hell we're ever talking about in general.
Excellent movie. I love it.
And then in 2008, Will took his first dive into superheroes, and he played Hancock. And what's cool about Hancock is he's an anti-superhero, basically. So he's this person with superpowers, but he doesn't usually use them for good. He uses them kind of selfishly for a lot of times. And then he also discovers that there are other supers in the world.
I like Hancock because it's an original one. You know, it's not based on a character everyone knew. And, you know, the thing Will Smith is, he's already a superhero in everyone's mind, so there's no need for him to play someone that people already know as a superhero because he's bigger than Superman. You know what I mean? He's just so famous and so beloved, so he doesn't need to put on someone else's costume. Like, he can be a superhero on his own.
Yeah, and Charlize Theron is the co-star in this film, and she's fantastic in this as well, and she plays a villain.
It's a twist. It's
pretty cool.
It's great.
It's a cool movie.
Yeah, so it's a really good movie. It was originally supposed to be much darker, and they filmed it to be pretty hard, PG-13, almost rated R, and they even got multiple R ratings from the MPAA, and they had to cut a ton of like R-rated adult stuff out. But I think it's a good movie. Peter Berg directed it.
Yeah, and then in 2008, he also starred in 7 Pounds, which was written and directed by the same person who did The Pursuit of Happiness. And I'm not too huge on this movie. I don't think it worked quite as well as The Pursuit of Happiness. So basically, his character is on a path of redemption for a horrible deed that he did in his past, and he's trying to save the lives of other people.
I mean, it has an interesting concept, but I just think that it was a little too melodramatic. And Will Smith, obviously, his acting is incredible, like it always is, but just the story itself wasn't very good, and it was just not at all a good approach to the subject and the concept. And I think that this is, without a doubt, you got to say is Will Smith's biggest miss as a leading actor.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't save a movie with even if you're a great actor in it.
And I'm sure they were like anticipating like, the twist will be the big turning point for audiences, and it just didn't. It was like kind of underwhelming. Like, oh, okay.
And then 2012, wow, he had a 4-year hiatus from acting for a while. That's insane.
Well, I mean, he was going ham for 10 years, you know?
Yeah, so he probably needed a break, also raising kids and everything.
Yeah.
So in 2012, he came back to Men in Black and started Men in Black 3 opposite Tommy Lee Jones as well as Josh Brolin, because Jay has to go back in time to, I think it's 1969, to work with the young version of Kay, played by Josh Brolin, who does a perfect impression of Tommy Lee Jones this entire movie.
This movie's way better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be horrible, but it's not amazing, but it's actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's like, you know, your giant sci-fi franchise, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back in time.
Yeah, like, why not?
Here, jump off this building with this device, and you're in 1969.
And the funny thing is, Josh Brolin's like 45 in this movie, but he's supposed to play Tommy Lee as like a 26-year-old.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's pretty hard to find someone who has the star power in a way, but also,
he's perfect. Like he feels like Tommy Lee. He looks like Tommy Lee.
He seems like he's his son.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he's James Brolin's son, but still,
his voice is perfect. The accent's terrific, and you know, Will Smith delivers it, you know, like he always does, and it's better than it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also Jermaine Clement is the villain.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords, our guy. And then in 2013, he starred in After Earth, which is an M. Night film, and we always talk about M. Night being a hit or miss director, and this one's, kind of a miss for us. And the interesting fact, though, is Will Smith came up with the story for this movie.
Well, the story he came up with was supposed to be a small independent film about a car wreck. So he and his son are in a car wreck in the middle of the wilderness, and then his son has to survive the wilderness and try and find help for him. And then they brought that idea to M. Night Shyamalan, and Shyamalan turned into a big budget sci-fi adventure.
Of course he did. All right, that's a cool idea, Will, but what about if you're like on a spaceship and you crash? And
you land on this foreign planet.
And it's like After Earth. But it's super dangerous.
And your son can fly. What does it fly? He glides.
He glides,
So, I mean, the original concept is awesome, but then what M. Night did was it's a little too much.
No, I mean, that's what M. Night does.
Yeah.
Take a car wreck and turn it into a space crash.
What if your name is Cypher Rage? That's the most ridiculous name ever made.
Oh, man. But, I mean, that's why M. Night's going to M. Night. That's what he does. But, I mean, it grossed $243 million, so, I mean, the guy still makes movies that make money.
Yeah.
That's why, M. Night's M. Night.
Yeah. And then he had after this, Will Smith had a terrific cameo in Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, as an ESPN reporter during the big fight in that movie, which is great to see. It was super surprising to see him.
It's like the only good part of that movie.
It really is.
I wish they didn't do it.
That in the Steve Carell and Kristen Wiig back and forth.
Okay, yeah.
That is the only funny part of the movie.
Anchorman is such an iconic comedy. Like, I don't think you could make a successful sequel that's good. I mean, they tried, but like, it's like you can't capture magic in a bottle again. You can't capture lightning in a bottle twice, and it's just. I don't know why they obviously money, but I think also Adam McKay had to do it so that he could
Big Short.
Yeah, Big Short.
And also, it's 9 years later, so I think it was like comedy tone had changed.
Yeah.
Whereas Anchorman was in 04.
I believe so, yeah.
And so that was before, like, comedy was still being very on edge and raunchy, whereas in 2013, it was like, kind of like, that didn't really suit that time.
Yeah, and I think Will Smith, comedic actors, the earliest parts of their careers are always their funniest because their jokes are freshest, their styles are fresh. And so I think when you're a comedic actor, not that I still don't find Will Ferrell hysterical, but I mean, since Anchorman and like Old School and those movies, like he has had some bombs and unfunny movies, and I still think he's a very hit or miss comedic actor, but I think that falls for a lot of comedic actors in general.
Yeah, that's a good point, because Will Ferrell, I think is the funniest person alive, but he's made some bad movies for sure, especially the last 10 years. Like, they are hit or miss for sure.
But, 2004, he's still coming off SNL and fresh as a daisy.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, he was in Winter's Tale, which is a pretty cool movie. It's it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's Akiva Goldsman wrote this and directed this. He's a really great writer. He's written a ton of Ron Howard's films, and this was his directorial debut. And it's got cool elements and a cool tone. It's got fantasy. It's got romance. It's got heaven and hell themes, but it's just like didn't quite hit. I think it's a hard tone to balance, especially for a first film. I think he went a little too big. And Will Smith just has a minor role in this. It's kind of like a cameo. But the real movie centers upon Colin Farrell's character and the villain played by Russell Crowe. But it's a good movie. If you like romance, this is right up your alley for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then 2005, he starred
2015,
sorry. He starred in Focus, and he co-starred with Margot Robbie. This was like a big role for Margot Robbie. And it was directed by Glenn Ficarra and John Requa. And
Focus!
He plays a con man, basically, as well as... And he takes Jess, who's played by Margot Robbie, like under his wing as like she's like a swindler, but then taking her as like his protege.
She's kind of like a pickpocket. And this movie's really good. It's great. It's charming. It's romantic. They have great chemistry together. And Margot,
yeah, they do.
This was really important for Margot in her career because she had just come off Wolf of Wall Street, and everyone loves her in Wolf, but she's got a small role in that movie. Whereas she's got a major role in this film, and she really held her own with Will Smith. And this is before she was a household name. So, but her and Will Smith together, absolute like gold.
And then also in 2015, he starred in Concussion, and this was about the Nigerian-born pathologist Dr. Bennett Omalu, who discovers the fact that football players are suffering from a brain damage called CTE, and so it's about the him trying to expose what's happening to these athletes from the head trauma that they suffer in their sport for decades of playing, and how it's a serious illness that needs to be there needs to be attention on, but it's about the corruption of a corporation trying to hide all that information.
Yeah, and eventually, helmets have been changed, and they've tried their best to make better improvements for the safety of players in terms of the design of helmets, and
also penalties like no more head hitting.
Yeah, no more head hitting. So the way NFL players play the game, it's definitely much more safer than it was 20 years ago. But the NFL has spent decades sweeping this under the rug, and this disease, it's very dangerous because it can seriously affect longevity. A lot of these players, they don't live into their 60s, and also it affects their behavior. They can become very aggressive, very violent, and very confused as well. And so it has horrible effects on people's minds. And there have even been a few major players over the last few years who have retired very early and very young out of the fear of getting too many concussions.
Yeah, I think Calvin Johnson's a great example of a great athlete and one of the best at his position of all time as being a wide receiver, retiring very young and people being very shocked by it because he still had so much left in the tank.
And also, what was that Carolina Panthers linebacker who retired 2 years ago?
Euclid.
He was like caliber, MVP caliber defensive player.
He's a Hall of Famer, potentially.
Yeah, but then he quit after 4 years because of, he wanted to protect his brain and his mind into his future.
Yeah, I mean, there are even cases of college athletes and high school athletes that have CTE, and so it's a really important issue that had to be brought to the surface.
And Will Smith is phenomenal in this film.
I think it's a very underrated movie.
Yeah, underrated. I just don't. People say he was snubbed for the Oscar, and I could definitely see that for sure. But ultimately, I think the movie, it had the potential to be a great film, but it kind of was underwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why he didn't get recognized, because I say it a lot. If a movie isn't amazing, oftentimes the great acting in it can get overlooked.
100%. And then 2016, he starred as Deadshot in Suicide Squad. And, I think most of us have been disappointed by this film. It was wildly successful. It almost made $900 million. It was so cool to see all these characters on the screen.
Great trailer.
Yeah, and the trailer is what sold it. And Will Smith and Margot Robbie are pretty much the only good parts about this movie.
Yeah,
and
I can confirm
the plot is pretty ridiculous. They have the Joker in it, but he's not really in it that much. So it's a waste, really, of all these great characters. And like I say all the time, why have the Joker in a movie if he's not the main villain? Why?
So dumb.
Why? Or at least a major part of the film.
Or at least maybe facilitate who the villain is.
It's just they just have him do some cool stuff and some weird stuff. It's just it's a waste of Jared Leto's role.
Yeah, the movie was very underwhelming, and the villain sucked, and it wasn't that funny either. But Will Smith and Margot clearly are the reasons why the movie even worked at all, if that. Oh, and Viola Davis is excellent.
Yeah, she's cool.
She's great.
And then obviously they basically remade kind of that into the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
With new characters.
It's not a full-on remake, though. It's just a sequel.
Yeah, it's like a sequel remake.
Reimagining.
Yeah, mashup.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, he was in Collateral Beauty, which I think was a bit of a swing and a miss.
A bit of a bore, too.
And this is a star-studded cast, but it's but it's one of those movies that it seems like it was a daytime drama that just got a huge budget.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame him for wanting to work with this cast. I mean, you got Kate Winslet, Helen Mirren, amazing actors, and I think just the story. I understand what they were going for, but it just didn't work. You know what I mean? These actors are playing physical representations of major ideas or themes. Like someone's love, and then someone is death, and someone plays life, and it's a man who writes letters to these ideas, and they respond to them in physical form. And it definitely seems like it does. It seems like it should be a kids movie, maybe like Pixar movie.
No, it's those TVD day dramas.
Yeah,
with a huge budget.
Yeah, it just didn't work.
Yeah, sorry guys. I don't know if you like this movie, but it's pretty trash. But before we continue, the Fresh Prince always stayed fresh, and you have to too. So head on over to manscaped.com and get the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer using our coupon code Raiders of the Lost for 20% off and free shipping. This brand new groomer is waterproof, has a 7,000 RPM motor, wireless charger, built-in light. You can use it in the shower, in the dark if you want. Fellas, get on manscaped.com. Everyone listening, if you have a man in your life, you need to get them a gift. You just want to surprise them with something that they'll actually appreciate. Forget about the cliche stuff that you get, guys. Go to manscaped.com. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout for 20% off and free shipping, because this is stuff that guys will actually use, I swear. They're weed whacker, men's deodorizers, men's wipes. We use it all. Boxer briefs are super comfortable, so thanks, Manscaped, for sponsoring the show.
Also, I got to tell you about movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Use our special promo code Raiders15 off to get 15% off your order today. If you're checking out our set on YouTube, you will see that our walls are covered in these amazing posters. The quality is top-notch. The price is super affordable, and they have a huge selection of movies. Pretty much every film and TV show you can think of, they have it. They also have all sorts of sizes of posters. They can do framing. They can do backlighting. Whatever your needs are for your posters, movieposters.com can handle it. Again, head on over to movieposters.com and use our promo code Raiders15 off to get 15% off your order today.
All right, let's get back into Will and his filmography. And then 2017, he starred in Bright, which is from director David Ayer. And I think this was one of those early Netflix original productions,
like,
right?
They didn't buy it. They produced this.
Yeah, so this was actually huge for streaming and SVOD for, you actually can make a giant production film with huge stars like Will Smith, Joel Edgerton, Noomi Rapace. And it's a pretty cool movie. I think the story could have been fleshed out a little better, but the concept is really interesting where, it's a cop, but it's a buddy cop movie.
It's Training Day meets Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, where mythical creatures exist.
Yeah.
So it's cool. The concept's cool, but I think it could have been more well-written.
But I also think that Pixar movie with Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, they ripped this movie off.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I can't remember what it's called, but they totally stole the idea of a grounded reality like ours, but has fantasy elements to it. And I also you cover up Joel Edgerton's face the whole time. It's like, but it is an interesting concept. It's
we
fun.
We know how much you love the handsome Australian actors.
Oh yeah, the Australians are the best. But this movie works at points and then it doesn't work. Ultimately, I think the weakness of the movie is the writing, because what happens oftentimes in this movie is the villains. So Will Smith and Edgerton, they're on the run from villains, and the villains just keep showing up where they are without us ever understanding how they figured out where they are, how they tracked them down.
Super quickly, too.
And there's a scene in a gas station, and then this gas station just starts getting attacked by the villains, and it's like, how do they get there? How do they know that they were there? It's like things like that happen in this movie that are just inexplicable and kind of take you out of the reality of it.
And just piss you off.
Yeah, I was like, multiple times in this movie, I was like, how did that happen? So, but ultimately, it's a cool concept, and Will Smith is a great lead as well, but I just think it didn't fully tie it together.
Yeah, but I do believe they announced that they're making a sequel to this, so Bright 2 will, I'm sure, be filming within the next 2 years, probably.
Netflix has the cheddar.
They got all the cheddar in the world. They got a whole giant underground vat full of cheddar cheese. And next up, in 2019, he played the genie in Aladdin. And this was Guy Ritchie's interpretation of the film and the character and the story of Aladdin for Disney. And I love Guy Ritchie. I like this movie. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about this movie, but to see a live adaptation of one of our childhood favorites was really cool.
I think that this is definitely one of the better live-action Disney movies of the last decade. It's a good time, and it definitely makes you feel like you're watching the original one. It very much follows what that film did, and I think that if you're going to have the genie, who else can you have to do this part other than Will Smith? I think that he was...
Since Robin Williams.
Yeah, since Robin Williams passed away, who do you have? And I think Will Smith was probably the only choice, ultimately. I can't think of anyone else who can do the comedy, do the musical numbers, do the improvisation, have the natural charm and charisma. I think it's an impossible task, and a lot of people ultimately, when they saw him as Will Smith as the genie, I remember the first reaction.
Yeah, everyone was freaking out.
Everyone was freaking out on the internet when they released the first image and then the first trailer. But even I was skeptical. I was like, the character design, I'm not really sold on it. But then when I watched the movie, it really works. It really does. And I think that they did an amazing job trying to follow up Robin Williams.
Yeah, you're right. Who could do this? Maybe Hugh Jackman. I don't know.
I don't know about the comedy.
Yeah,
I've never seen Hugh Jackman as funny. Have you?
he's got some funny moments. And
Sarcastic as Logan, but that's it. But I'm talking about like stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't think anyone can do it. You're right.
It had to have been Will.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then in 2019, he starred in Gemini Man, and this was a film from director Ang Lee, and he plays an assassin who is confronted with a younger version of himself.
This movie, it has really great parts to it, but then the script just falls apart, and it's the writing which is the problem of this movie. I don't know who wrote this. I didn't look it up, but it definitely needed a serious rewrite. And Ang Lee is such an amazing director, but he has made a couple of movies in the last 10 years that are just, they don't match what I think he has a caliber as a director. And this is a movie where great concept, amazing execution, especially in terms of the digital technology that Industrial Light and Magic performed by creating the younger version of Will Smith using motion capture. It is like you're not questioning it at all when you see the young version of him, like it was 5 years ago, where you can tell like it's definitely CGI, but they did an amazing job with the technology. But ultimately, the story is the weakest part of this film. The first act is great, but then once it gets going, it's kind of just like very, very underwhelming, and they missed their mark for sure.
Yeah, and I just think that the characters aren't super interesting, especially the younger version of himself. They have like a ceiling of interest, you know. They're not super, like Will's great as the charming guy, that's what he does best, I think, even when he does his dramatic stuff. But
and Clive Owen, his villain, it was an underwhelming villain.
Yeah,
and then
I love Clive, but you're right. As a villain, I'm not a huge fan.
He could have done it. It's just the writing, I think, is what was the problem. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she did a great job, but again, her character was just like this is getting really unbelievable at this point. So I think it had a great setup, great concept, good execution at first, but ultimately underwhelming.
Yeah, and overall the visual effects are stunning, though.
Yeah.
The motion capture
unbelievable.
And de-aging technology that was used is incredible. And then he voiced a character on Spies in Disguise in 2019.
With Tom Holland, right?
He plays Lance. Yeah, Tommy Holland's in this as well.
Tommy Holland.
Rashida Jones, Ben Mendelsohn. Awesome cast. And yeah, he's a super spy who has to lead a team of other people to declare his name, and it's cool.
I've never seen it.
And he gets turned into a carrier pigeon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty funny.
Oh, do all the spies become like animals?
No. He Tom Holland's character accidentally turns him into a pigeon.
Oh.
And so he's trying to clear his name as a spy. He's like the biggest spy, like the ultra spy. He's like James Bond turned into a pigeon.
Got it.
And Tom Holland's like the co-lead in it.
Got it.
It's pretty funny.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty funny. All right, and then what do we have next?
2020,
Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys
Reclaimed his role as Mike Lowry. It was awesome to see them again. It's Bad Boys. Like, it's a great franchise. It's always a good time, and we know what we're gonna get walking into it, and we are always satisfied, I think.
And even though Michael Bay didn't make it, it still felt like a Bad Boys movie because the filmmakers is this filmmaking duo. Bad Boys was their favorite movies growing up, and so they were like extremely passionate about the job, and they tried their best to emulate what Michael Bay created visually.
Yeah,
and it's great to see them back in action again. It's super funny. It's better than I thought it would be. When I saw that first trailer, I was like, I don't know, do we need another Bad Boys? But then I watched it. I'm like, oh, it was great. And now they're in pre-production for a fourth one.
Yeah. So it's Bad Boys 4 is in pre-production, even though there's been 4 Bad Boys.
There's been 3.
Well, it's Bad Boys 2. Oh, this is the third one. Never mind. Bad Boys for Life is 3.
And you have a movie podcast.
It's what we call a brain fart. And so it was directed by Adil El Arbi and Bilal Falah. So they are the co-directors of that film.
Yeah.
And then his most recent movie is playing King Richard.
No, playing Richard. It's coming out soon. It's he plays Richard Williams, who is the father and coach of Serena and Venus Williams. And
the film's called King Richard.
Yeah, it's called King Richard. He's not playing a king. You bonehead.
Sorry, I was reading at the same time. I think I'm dehydrated.
And I think he got paid, what is it, 30 mil? 40 million for that movie.
Big role. Yeah. It looks like an incredible film.
Looks like an excellent trailer. I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. I love sports films, especially when they're well made, because there's no better story than telling that underdog story of, especially of these two characters, where they came from in Compton to becoming the greatest athletes in their sports and history. Amazing story, and I just get goosebumps watching this trailer.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And so he has a bunch of other stuff that he's either filming in pre-production, post-production. So this Joker is a TV series that he's completed that I think is coming out next year. Emancipation, he is filming. The Council's in pre-production. Fat and Loose is in pre-production. Bad Boys 4 pre-production, and Bright 2 was just announced. So he's got a bunch of movies coming out.
Yeah, it looks
soon.
like he's really gearing up, because he was taking his time with films, doing one a year or one every 2 years. So I think now that his kids are grown up almost, he's spending more time making movies now.
Yeah, and Will, besides being an actor, also has a ton of producer credits. He's been the executive producer of films like iRobot, Ride or Die, produced Hitch. He produced Pursuit of Happiness, Hancock, 7 Pounds, Lakeview Terrace, The Secret Life of Bees, This Means War, The New Karate Kid he produced, After Earth, The Queen Latifah Show, Annie. Let's see. And he's also producing the new, I think, Fresh Prince of Bel Air show, maybe. Bad Boys for Life produced. So he's
I don't know how I feel about having a new Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
I mean, I guess, but like,
There's only one Fresh Prince.
I'm sure
There's
he's,
only one.
I'm sure he's getting a cut of it, but it's kind of a like. Can you just make a new version of like a show that's similar?
Or just, watch the old one.
It's so the old one's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like if you try to reboot The Office. Like,
It's like
why would you try to reboot The Office, or why would you try to reboot The Fresh Prince of Bel Air?
someone told me about this, and I was like, they're remaking the Fresh Prince. Like, oh my god.
I mean, it's been 25 years since it ended. Yeah, but still,
It's on.
like,
You can watch it on Peacock. You can watch the whole thing.
just come up with a new show.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, man.
I can't do these remakes
It's kind
anymore.
of a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it's perfect. You can't replace Will Smith.
Yeah.
Just
That's
like
it. That's the whole thing. You can't replace Will Smith.
He's
It's
a
impossible.
superstar.
The show is him. It's because of him that it worked.
Like, I'm sure the young actor who'll play.
I'm sure he's a talented actor, and I'm sure he'll
Is
do
he
a great
playing
job.
Will Smith? Is his character going to be called Will?
Yes, Willard Smith.
That's kind of weird.
I believe, yeah.
Why not just? I guess. I mean, it would work if it was like Jaden, but he's too.
Jaden's too big for
of
a
a
TV
star.
show.
And I don't know. You know how we feel about reboots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not huge fans of them all. But anyways,
Want to do some? Oh, sorry.
yeah, we got some.
We got a lot of trivia.
All right, let's do some fun Will Smith facts from his movies.
Jada Pinkett Smith actually tried out for the role of Lisa in Fresh Prince of Bel Air. However, she was ironically rejected due to a lack of chemistry with Will Smith and also their drastic height difference. Very ironically, they got married 3 years later and have 2 children together and remain married to the present day.
I thought they got separated.
No, they have what do you call it? They can see other people. Open marriage.
Oh, an open.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Will Smith called the After Earth the most painful failure of his career.
I bet, because he was there from start to finish.
Yeah, and he kind of came up with the idea, the original idea. Man, what a bummer. It sounds like a cool idea he had at first. Hancock was originally supposed to be the villain of the film Hancock, but the script was rewritten once Will Smith signed because, as you stated, he has to be the hero of all of his movies.
Yeah. In the movie Bad Boys, the studio refused to fund the final action sequence, and so Michael Bay paid for the $25,000 shoot on his own.
Will Smith actually had a huge hand in helping develop the plot for Men in Black 3 and actually came up with the idea of the team traveling back in time in the next movie while they were filming Men in Black 2.
For the movie Men in Black, Vincent D'Onofrio researched his role as Edgar by watching a lot of bug documentaries. In order to achieve his character's distinctive walk, he put on knee braces so he couldn't bend his legs and also taped up his ankles.
Will Smith refused to go completely shirtless in Bad Boys, the first film, and he compromised with a non-buttoned-up shirt. So I actually like that, where he's not going to objectify himself on camera just because of what he looks like. So rather than let's focus on the characters in the movie and the performance, even though it's a Michael Bay blockbuster. But you know how Michael Bay likes to sell his movies.
He did it in I Am Legend, though. He's doing shit-ups shirtless and running on a treadmill.
He's like, all right, I gotta get some more butts in the seats.
He's in amazing shape for I Am Legend, so I think he wanted to show how committed he was to it.
He's in great shape in Bad Boys too.
Yeah, but he's insane shape in I Am Legend.
How good of a shape is he in?
Wild shape. In the movie Men in Black, the sunglasses used by the Men in Black are the Ray-Ban Predator 2 glasses. After the film's release, Ray-Ban reported that sales of these glasses tripled from $1.6 million in sales to over $5 million in sales.
Sorry.
To over $5 million in sales. For the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance, Matt Damon did not have any previous golfing experience. He spent a month with golf pro Tim Moss in order to train and learn how to play golf. Because of his intense training, Matt Damon even suffered from a separated rib due to the excessive golf practicing he prepared with. To get in shape for Ali, Will Smith moved to Aspen, Colorado, where the air is much thinner. He would get up every morning at 6:30 a.m. to go for a 5-mile run before hitting the gym every day for 3 hours of ring work, and then follow that up with a full afternoon of weight training.
He also went up to 210 pounds, and he's 6'2", so that's a big dude.
The actor put on 35 pounds of muscle in less than 4 months.
Yeah, it was the training.
It's the training. It's a lot of muscle. Anyways,
that wraps our episode on Will Smith and
we
his
love the
spotlights,
guy.
and we're so glad you tuned into this because it was a lot of fun, and we love Will, and we can't wait to see what else he does in his career. We'll probably be seeing King Richard pretty soon. And
he's one of the best movie stars of all time.
yeah, one of the biggest for sure. And like we said, he's one of the last of the dying breed of the mega movie stars of worldwide fame and acclaim and everything like that. So
Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in. Become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of Lost Podcast today for all the bonus content and episodes, and we appreciate you tuning in around the world.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.